Hey everyone, welcome to RYDR Sports. My name is Yash,
And I'm Logan.
and today we'll be starting off talking about the Chiefs versus Texans. So, personally for me, I think this is the one year that the Chiefs don't make the playoffs. At currently they're 6-6, and I don't think the Chiefs are able to going to be able to put up many points against the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Texans defense, they have one of the best defenses in the NFL this year. You got Derrick Stingley in the secondary. Stroud's back now after a short injury. Going to Arrowhead is always going to be tough. Patrick Mahomes is always going to have those boys ready to play over there. Chiefs are 5-1 at home this year, and Mahomes just knows how to win these important games, especially because their season is on the line this week. You go to 6-7, and all of a sudden your playoff chances are extremely low in the AFC. So, in my opinion, this week the Chiefs are in a must-win situation. Patrick Mahomes has to show up against this elite defense. The Texans have also been one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They had a really rough start. They started 2-4, and they've won 4 games in a row. Um, Against some pretty quality opponents. They beat the Jaguars, who are very good this year. They beat Buffalo, and they beat Indianapolis at their own stadium. So Texans, they have won 5 out of 6. They've got a hot streak going. Going to Arrowhead, it's going to be tough. But I trust Patrick Mahomes in this situation. I trust the Chiefs more than I trust the Texans. If you look at the betting lines, they have 3.5 towards the Chiefs. I think that's a little low. It started at 5.5, moved down to 3.5. A total of 43.5 points. Pretty average. I like a low scoring game in this one. Two good defenses, but I just trust Mahomes in this matchup. I think he gets it done in a must win game.
I personally think the main emphasis of this game has to be put on the offensive line for Kansas City and the offensive line for the Texans. The Texans' offensive line so far this season has not really held up very well against the pass rush, and with Chris Jones coming in, I think it's going to be very difficult for CJ Stroud to have enough time in the pocket to find Nico Collins or any other receiver. And same thing goes for Mahomes. I do think that the Chiefs' O line is considerably better, not great, but considerably better than the Texans. However, I do think the Texans' defensive line, especially the front four, is a lot better than what the Chiefs have on defense. So I personally think my score prediction for that game is going to be very low scoring. I think both teams do not cross the 20 point mark. I think the Texans win the game 20-17.
2017, so definitely going to be a close game. Two very good teams on paper. I mean, you look at so far what they've each done this year. Maybe you could say both of these teams have um, played a little bit lower than their expectations, especially on Kansas City's side. They've had some tough games this year. Obviously, missing Rasheed Rice for the first 6 games doesn't help them at all. Running back has been a question mark all season for them. They've got really 3 guys back there that have kind of went in and out. They've got the Rashard Smith kid. They got Pacheco, who's been a staple there, and then Kareem Hunt, who has also been honestly the RB1 for them over the last few weeks. Take a look at the playoff picture. Chiefs right now sitting 10th in the AFC. Texans, they are 8th. However, they are still behind the Jaguars in that division by a game. Definitely a game that the Chiefs need to win more than the Texans. I think the Texans can still make the playoffs with a loss here. I think Chiefs go to 6-7. I think their season is over. Definitely can't make the playoffs at 9-8. 10-7 starts to get a little shaky for them. You're not winning the AFC West, so it's a must-win for
I
Kansas City this week.
um I think this is a really really big game for Kansas City because I don't think they make the playoffs if they lose this game. Um, the problem with the Kansas City is that the Jaguars have the tiebreaker over them. Buffalo has a tiebreaker over them, and who else? The Chargers so far regarding or I mean I still know the Chiefs have to play the Chargers one more time, but the Chargers do currently have the tiebreaker over Kansas City, and these are all teams that are still in the hunt. So I believe that if Kansas City doesn't win tonight, or not tonight, Sunday night, I believe it's an 8:20 game.
Mhm.
I don't think Kansas City is able to make the playoffs, and I mean, especially looking, I personally kind of saw this coming a little bit because I didn't. I mean, well, I didn't think they'd be this bad, but I mean, just going to last season, the way they were winning games. I mean, they weren't like winning games because they'd have this like they'd be keeping the game close, and then they'd have this one big drive. They were winning things, winning in ways that was kind of unsustainable, like a blocked field goal at the end of the game, or a player just being slightly out of bounds, or some sort of penalty that went their way. I didn't think that was going to be sustainable for a long period of time. And we kind of saw that in the Super Bowl against Philly, where they just got absolutely obliterated.
Mhm.
And I really do think if they don't win tonight, it's the chance of Kansas City making the playoffs are really low. And I think even if they do win tonight, they still got a really tough schedule ahead because they still have to play Denver and they still have to play the Chargers. So even though I believe both of those games are at home, but I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
can the Chiefs win out? Yes, of course they can win out. They're the Kansas City Chiefs. They have one of the best quarterbacks of all time back there, one of the best coaches. Of course they can win their last 4 games and make the playoffs. Is it a tall task? Of course it's going to be. You still have Los Angeles, you still have Denver, and then you got to beat a really good Texans team. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs this year. I think they can win 9 games. I think they can win 3 of their last 5. Um, but honestly, you probably need 4 or 5 here to end the season if Mahomes wants a chance to get another ring. But if there's a team that can do it, of course the Chiefs have proved that they win and win and win and win. So, do you trust Mahomes? Um, you kind of have to in this situation. I'm gonna bet on Mahomes to go out there and lead his team to a win on Sunday night, and hopefully they can still make the playoffs this year after kind of a tough season.
I do actually believe that the Chiefs do end with a winning record. However, I don't think that a 9-8 record would be enough to make the playoffs for Kansas City. So I don't think that even if I think they at least lose one of the 3 games against the Texans, Chargers, or Broncos. I do think that they beat the Raiders, and I believe the Titans are the other team that they have left. So, and obviously they're going to beat the Titans. So our next topic will be the Lions versus Cowboys. Logan, you can start off.
So this is a huge game tomorrow for both teams. Honestly, you could argue that this is also a must-win game for both of these teams. Cowboys all of a sudden have life again. Um, they've been hot recently, and the Lions honestly haven't been great. They've been on the bad side of some close games, but this one's going to be a shootout tomorrow night. I think Jared Goff and Dak Prescott are going to both lead their teams to more than 30 points tomorrow night. You just look at the matchup. Cowboys, one of the best passing offenses in the NFL, and the Lions have one of the best offenses in the NFL. So I think both teams put up 30 points tomorrow night. I think it could be a 37-30 type of game, maybe a 33-30 type of game. Um, but the Cowboys are hot. They have momentum. They just came off a win against the Chiefs, and then they beat the Eagles. They beat the Raiders. 3-game winning streak for Dallas. George Pickens honestly is having a top 3 wide receiver season in the NFL so far this year. He's been insane. And then of course you have CeeDee Lamb, who's the wide receiver 1 there, and Javonte Williams has been playing really well. And the Cowboys have a chance to go into Detroit tomorrow night and win another game, which would be their 4th in a row. That would put them to 7-5-1. So kind of a weird record there. They need to finish really strong if they want to make the playoffs. And then on Detroit's side, they're 7-5. That is definitely not what we thought they would do this year. One of the best rosters in the NFL, but they've been on the tough side of some games this year. You lose to Kansas City, no shame in that. You lose to the Vikings, who now we know are not very good at all. That's a bad loss. You score 9 points against the Eagles, and it's been kind of a frustrating season for the Lions. But they can get back on track tomorrow night with a win at home and get their playoff hopes back on track.
Okay, personally, I think tomorrow is also going to be a huge game. I mean, Thursday night football, there's obviously millions of people watching that, and I think tomorrow is a big game for the Lions, I think it's a bigger game for the Detroit compared to the Cowboys, because I mean Detroit's been having a lot of issues with injuries, and I mean just I think this morning I saw on ESPN that Terrion Arnold is out for the season, and that's a
Mm.
huge loss because the defense is already in shambles. And I know their offensive line is having a lot of problems after Frank Ragnar retired this last season. And I did see he was trying to come back for this season, like unretiring for this season, but he failed the physical, and that's huge because the Lions already lost their starting center for this season or for the next couple games, and now that they've lost their backup center, so they're going to be on the third string center trying to play against the Dallas Cowboys. I know their front line's not as good as it used to be, especially with Micah Parsons being in Green Bay, but I think it's still going to be really difficult for Jared Goff uh, to play in that environment, even though it's at home. I mean, you can't really do much without an offensive line in the NFL. Now, the one thing I think the X factor for the game is if Amon-Ra St. Brown is able to play, because that
Hmm.
completely changes. I mean, the coverages that the Cowboys would show. Because I mean, here you can double Amon-Ra, but then you got JMO open. I mean, if you only got JMO as your receiver, especially with Sam Laporta being out for the season or for the next couple games as well, I think it's going to be very tough on him. Now, assuming that Amon-Ra St. Brown can play and Jameer Gibbs and Montgomery are all healthy and ready to go, I do think it would be a high-scoring game. I'm going to go actually even higher than your prediction, Logan, of 37-30. I'm going to go 41-38 as the
Wow.
final score. Again, assuming that all of the offensive starters for the Lions are playing. I don't, looking at last week, I don't think Dallas is back end of the defense is good enough to stop JMO and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and especially with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery running the ball down the middle. I think what it does is it pulls the linebackers in because they have to respect the run, and now you can throw those short in routes and things like that. And I think this is a big game for the what's I'm trying to think of the name of the head coach, but I can't. On the Cowboys, because I mean this is his first season coaching the Cowboys, and I think he can really prove himself here, especially with the way the Cowboys were playing last year. If Dallas is able to go into Detroit and win this game, I mean it would be a big statement game because they beat Philadelphia, they beat Kansas City, and I think the Cowboys, assuming that they're able to make the playoffs, I think this is the year that they make a deep run. So same
Yeah,
and
they
sorry,
they
what were you saying?
definitely have the offense this year. Um, I think if the Cowboys do end up squeaking into the playoffs by a half a game or a game, I don't think their defense is good enough to make a run this year. You're talking about probably the worst defense in the NFL this season, or a bottom five defense in the NFL this year. Cowboys are giving up 25 points every game. Doesn't matter to who. They've been very underwhelming on defense, and that offense has had to carry them to a lot of wins this year. Um, but I definitely do think both quarterbacks show up tomorrow night, throw a few touchdown passes. I think it's hard for me to see the Lions not score 30 points in this game against that defense, especially in honestly a must-win spot for them. If you take a look at their last 5 games of the season, they got Dallas tomorrow night. You have to go to LA to play the Rams. That is going to be an extremely important game.
Yeah, and
You go
difficult.
play Pittsburgh, which is never easy. And then you have the Vikings and the Bears. Bears 9-3. That's not going to be an easy game for them either. So potentially, those are 4 games that the Lions could lose. I'm not saying that they are going to lose all 4 of those games, but I wouldn't be surprised if they split those 2-2. So you need 10 wins if you're Detroit. You're 7-5 right now. You have to finish with 10 wins if you want to squeak into the playoffs, and it's not going to be easy for them. But along with the Chiefs, I think if there's a team that can do it, I think the Lions definitely have the squad to do what needs to be done to make the playoffs. And if they do make the playoffs, I think they're definitely one of the teams in the NFL that can make a run to the Super Bowl, considering how good that offense is. And if their defense can play good enough in some games, I think the Lions are definitely Super Bowl contenders, as we thought the entire season. Um, but yeah, tomorrow night should be a banger. I got CD Lamb in fantasy. Um, So I'm hoping for a shootout. I think it's going to be a great game. And yeah.
I mean, talking about fantasy, tomorrow's a big night for me too because I got Goff and Amon-Ra in one league, and I have Jameer Gibbs in the other. So,
Mm.
I mean, the Cowboys defense, aside from the Bengals defense, the Cowboys defense, who I want to go against. So, I personally think that if the Lions don't win, then at least the two out of the next three games, I don't think they make the playoffs. Because I don't think 9 and
Yeah.
8 is going to be enough in the NFC.
Yeah. 9-8's not going to be good
So,
enough. You need 10 wins somehow.
and they gotta start getting some of these defensive players and some of these offensive players healthy because, I mean, Seattle is looking deadly this year. So is
Yup.
LA. And the Bears are actually. I'm shocked the Bears are this good.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
mean, the
actually
Lions,
shocked
the
that JJ.
Lions, the Lions are third in that division right now. Green Bay is
I
having a
mean,
better season than them, and Chicago's having a better season than them. So,
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I think Jordan Love has proven himself as a really good
oh,
quarterback in the NFL.
for sure. For
Um,
sure.
I did believe in Caleb Williams. I did not think he was going to be this good. So, and JJ McCarthy is just garbage. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think there's
that's
any way
that's
to
a
put it.
tough situation over there. I mean, he's
So
had a year to sit back and learn, but just the
I
results are
still
just
think the Lions
not
Vikings.
coming through.
I still believe the Lions Vikings game is actually going to be a lot closer than they think, just because for two reasons. The Vikings defense is one of the best in the NFL, and second,
Mm,
divisional games are always a lot harder than they seem.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
the first place team can be going against a fourth place team, and the game will be decided by like a field goal.
Oh
So
yeah, exactly what we
um,
saw with the Broncos and the Raiders. I mean, you're
yeah,
talking about a 10-2 Broncos team playing one of the worst teams in the NFL this year in the Raiders, and it ends up being a really tight game. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings give them a run for their money too. So that's potentially five losable games that the Lions could drop. So I think it's going to be close. I think they end with 10 or 11 wins, but you need 10 to make the playoffs, and I think they probably lose to the Rams. They probably lose to either Chicago or Pittsburgh. I think one of those two they drop, but I think they get to 10 wins and squeak into the playoffs. And honestly, I think they probably could make the conference champ as a floor for them. So, yeah, I'm pretty interested to see what's going to happen tomorrow night. Because if the Lions come out looking really bad, then I think it all changes. If you go to 7-6, then that's just a really, really crappy scenario for them. So,
I do think
it's just be
Pittsburgh.
exciting to watch.
I do think they're going to beat Pittsburgh actually pretty easily because Pittsburgh. I mean, you watched them against Buffalo. I mean, they couldn't stop the
Yeah,
run at all, and I know Buffalo has a pretty good run game with Jared Cook and then obviously Josh Allen running, but I mean, they're
yeah. I mean,
not
just
nearly as good as what Detroit
yeah.
can offer. I mean, if the Steelers defense plays like they did against Buffalo, I mean, I think the Lions would break some rushing yard records on that night.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
It's not an easy
Pitts-
schedule for them though. Five
I
pretty
didn't.
solid teams they got to end the season with.
I actually thought the Giants' run defense was pretty solid going into the Lions Giants game 2 weeks ago, and I mean the Lions almost had 300 rush yards. So
Mm.
I think they did have 300 rush yards. I think Jameer Gibbs himself went over 200, like 220, 230. If you
Yeah, he's
remember
a
that
beast.
one breakout in the overtime. So my final prediction for the game, like I said, is 41-38, and you said 37-30.
I
Um,
think 37-30. I think the Lions find a way to win in the fourth quarter in a really tight game. I think they win on the final drive. I think Goff gets it done, and I think the Lions go to 8-5 and keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, I also think both quarterbacks throw over 300 and three touchdowns, and
Wow.
yeah, and I do think this does have the potential, especially with the way that both defenses are playing, to be the highest scoring game of this NFL season so far.
Totally agree with you.
So
Totally agree.
I personally would not be shocked if both teams went into the 40s. I don't think that's going to happen, but if any game, if it were to happen any game this season, it's this one right here.
For sure.
So for our final topic, we're going to be discussing, as of right now, who the uh, best candidate is to win the NFL MVP. Logan.
Yeah, I think two quarterbacks so far have deserved to be in frontrunner MVP conversations. I think Drake May and Matt Stafford. I don't think this is a surprise. These are the top two top two in odds. I think right now Drake May is a little over Matt Stafford, but it's Drake May, Matt Stafford, and then the rest. I think by now, I think it is a two-way battle. Of course, you have guys like Jonathan Taylor and JSN who are having insane seasons at their positions, but really it is a quarterback award. So you have to really consider the best quarterbacks for the MVP award. We can talk about Offensive Player of the Year. That's a different award, different conversation for those guys. But the season that Matt Stafford is having right now, he is my personal front runner for MVP. I mean, talk about an insane season for Stafford and the Rams. I mean, 3,000 yards already, still has 5 games to play. He has 32 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions. Those are prime Aaron Rodgers numbers from Matt Stafford there. And he's leading the Rams to the best record in the NFC so far. So I think it's hard to argue against Matt Stafford. But there's a team in the AFC, the Patriots, who are 11-2, and have this young kid, Drake May. I believe it's his 3rd season in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. Second season.
Yeah.
And he has 23 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So stats-wise, you could argue Stafford's better. Of course, Drake May does have about 350 more yards passing. But Stafford with more touchdowns, less interceptions. They both have a 111 quarterback rating. So stats-wise, it's pretty close. I mean, if you want to favor the guy with more yards, you go with Drake May. Better touchdown-interception ratio, it's Stafford. And then you look at team success, and both teams are atop their conferences. So really, I think this MVP award this year comes down to these two guys. They've been doing their thing this year. It's really special to watch. I mean, I think Drake May is a carbon-cut copy of Tom Brady. So he's going to be a MVP candidate for years to come. And then Matt Stafford kind of coming out of nowhere this year. I mean, Stafford's getting old. This guy, he already won his Super Bowl. Stafford's 37 years old. I mean, this is a guy who is getting up there in age and is having the best season of his entire career. So,
You're cutting
yeah,
out.
I mean, Stafford and May, I think, are the two front runners.
Okay. I think, personally, obviously I'm going to go for Drake May as a Patriots fan, but I do think it's a very, very tight race. Now, Drake May does have, if I'm not mistaken, more passing yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing about Drake May is his completion percentage. At the time right now, he has a 72% completion percentage, which is mind-blowing. And the biggest thing is, Drake May's not... He just doesn't throw checkdowns. He's not afraid to throw the ball down the field. I mean, he has the highest completion percentage in the NFL over throws over 20 yards. So that shows he's not... I mean, he's 3rd in attempts. It's not like he's like last in attempts and just completed a couple 20-yard throws. No, he's 3rd in attempts so far on 20-plus yard throws, and he's 1st in completion percentage by a long shot by almost 8%. And I mean, he's not afraid to push a ball downfield at all. And I think that's the biggest thing to being a successful quarterback in the NFL, because I mean, it's very difficult if you're just gonna go game by game, just throwing checkdowns or short screens and doing this. Trying to get the ball down, you have to get the ball downfield to stretch the defense, right? So, I do have Drake May slightly over Matthew Stafford. My other candidate, however, though, is Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I think if he gets over 2,000 yards somehow, right? I believe at this point he would have to average like 140 yards for the next 4 or 5 games. It is doable. It is very difficult. But if he gets if he plays a game where he gets like 200, 215 yards receiving, which is a lot to ask for, obviously, then if he got 80 or 90 out from there, I think he would be set for the record. Now, I have heard a lot of people arguing that Megatron back in, I believe, 2013 with Matthew Stafford, he hit 1947 or something like that, or 1963, I believe, yards in 16 games. Which, while that is true, if you actually pay attention to how the Seahawks are playing right now, JSN has played games where he hasn't even touched the field after halftime, right? And I feel like if he actually played full games, I think he'd be a lot closer to the record than he is as current. So Another big factor about the Seahawks is that they can't actually crush their opponents for Jackson Smith and Jigba to
Yeah,
get his
good point.
record.
Good point.
So I believe that I don't think that he gets his record just because of what happened last week against the Vikings. Um, I mean, I know Darnold missed him a couple times. I mean, that was just a rough game for him and Jefferson. But I mean, I think they both combined for like 30 yards or something. It was a very at least offensively, it was a very underwhelming game. I'm not really surprised, especially with the Vikings' offensive situation. But I do have Drake May at 1. I have Matthew Stafford at 2. I have JSN at 3. Um,
Yeah, I mean, Drake May, that's why he's leading in the betting markets right now. They have him slight favorite over Stafford. I mean, you could also argue Drake May has done more with less, right? I mean, you have Puka Nakua,
yeah,
Devontae Adams,
absolutely.
Kyron Williams there in
I do think
LA. Those
it's
are
Matthew Stafford's,
three
or sorry,
monsters.
Drake May's award to lose.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
mean,
what you think.
the Patriots' number one wide receiver is who? I mean, I don't even know.
I think
Diggs?
that's probably one of the biggest things about the Patriots, right? I mean, um, their the actual team is so consistent because if one person doesn't show up, we have another player showing up. One week it's Hunter Henry, another week it's Stephon Diggs, the other week it's Kayshawn Butte. I think that's a Booty, something like that. I'm not exactly sure how to say his name. I've heard announcers say it like 3 or 4 different ways. Um, I mean, it's just it's somebody else every week. Like there's I don't think I've seen any receiver lead back to back weeks like in receiving yards or targets or I mean whatever. So May is able to spread the ball a lot downfield. That's the thing. That's really actually shocking because Stafford, even though he's having a historic season, one of the greatest seasons I think for him. I do think that Matthew Stafford does have. I mean, I don't even think that's a debate. I do think he has a considerably better receiving core than
Yeah, I also
Drake May
wanted to
does.
bring up regarding this topic that you look at New England's schedule, and it has been very light. Right, this team
It has,
hasn't
yes.
faced too many great teams. I mean, you look at who they're beating right now. They have a win over Buffalo um, away, which is their best win on the season. But then you look at the other wins, and you go, you beat the Giants on Monday. You
Yeah.
beat the Bengals, the Jets, the Falcons, the Browns, the Titans, the Saints. Dolphins aren't great. Um, Carolina's good, but they've had. I mean, 8 of their wins haven't. I mean, let's count here: one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. 7 games this year. The Patriots have played really the bottom feeders of the NFL. So I think you could argue some of Drake May's success has been because of they're not playing anybody. They're not playing any of the contenders in the NFL this so far. Um, and maybe that's why he's looking so great right now. I mean, obviously they still have 5 more games, or I think they have 4 more games left. So I think it's interesting to see once the Patriots play a contender, a team with 8 or 9 wins. Um, if he can continue to put up numbers like this, then I think you can take Drake May a little more seriously than you are right now. Obviously, you can't discredit anything Drake May has done so far. I mean, kid's in his second year in the NFL and he's an MVP candidate. I mean, that's unheard of. So, I think the Patriots' schedule has been very forgiving. They can mess up here and there. They'll still win the game because they're playing a bad team. But that's not to discredit anything Drake May has done so far this season. I think it's 1-2, depending on how each quarterback finishes the season. Um, Drake May could overtake Stafford. Stafford could overtake Drake May. Honestly, depends on how the Patriots and the Rams finish, and it's all about how both of these quarterbacks finish in their final 5 games. But I think this one's going to be tight. I think both teams end up being the number one seed in their conference. So really, it's about which quarterback you feel deserves the award. Obviously, it's not going to be the same for everybody, but yeah, I mean, Drake May, ridiculous season so far, and he's not done. I do want to see a little more adversity though from the Patriots. I want to see them play a team that's good. I want to see them go up against a team that has potential to win the Super Bowl, and they haven't played one of those teams so far this year.
I think the Patriots are unbiased opinion. I don't think or sorry, biased opinion. I don't think the Patriots are Super Bowl contenders just yet. Not because of uh, not because of like the offense. I think our defense is just slightly. Um, I think our team just as a whole is actually kind of young, right? And we don't have any playoff like actual deep playoff experience yet. Now, if we're able to win the first game and we play well, all for all three aspects of the ball, I feel a lot more confident that we can. Okay, now we can actually make a go deep run because,
For
I mean,
sure.
there's some really good teams in the AFC. I mean, there's
Yeah.
Denver. Um, I mean, Houston's pretty good. I don't know if they make it or not. There's Buffalo, either like
Chargers are good.
Baltimore. I mean, well, the one thing with Baltimore is that they always like they don't really play well,
Baltimore
especially
still has
offensively in the
to.
playoffs.
Baltimore still needs to get some work done if they want to make the playoffs. They're trying to
Yeah,
win that division.
I mean,
Job's not done yet. So
Lamar's got to do a much better job of trying to take care of the ball, especially in the playoffs. I mean, just last week he had 5 turnovers against the
yeah, that's
garbage. I
inexcusable.
mean, garbage Bengals defense, right? I
Yeah.
mean, to the Bengals' credit, they did play pretty well, but I mean, you can't be having 5 turnovers in a game, right? You won't win, right? So, um, I do think that my personal take on this Super Bowl, I believe it's probably going to be. I think this is Buffalo's year. I think it's going to be Buffalo versus Seattle, and I'm taking
Hmm.
Seattle over LA just because I believe that the Seattle's defense is um,
Yeah, they're legit.
better than LA, and I think if they can hold Matthew Stafford and that fired offense um, to under 24 points, I think the Seahawks can get to the Super Bowl. I don't think that the Patriots are as good of a team as Buffalo
Yeah. Yeah.
or
I mean,
the
Patriots are
Texans.
11-2, but I don't think they're as good as their record shows, just because they've played the bottom six teams in the NFL. So I
I
mean,
do think
they're
they
good.
are decent.
Patriots are they're good this year, but I still would take two or three teams in the AFC above them. I honestly might take the Chiefs over the Patriots. I know that's
I personally
kind
would
of a
not take
debate
Kansas
there.
City over the Patriots. Now, I do believe that Kansas City's got. Obviously, they're a lot more experienced of a team. I do think Drake May. Oh, I don't even. I think it's a pretty well known fact that Drake May is playing better than Patrick Mahomes so far this season, right? Um, However, I mean, just looking back at the last couple of years, I do trust Mahomes obviously a little bit more than I do Drake May right now. Um, However, the Chiefs, the first problem the Chiefs have is making the playoffs. So, as a Patriots fan, I do not want to see Kansas City in the playoffs, obviously. But
No, no one wants to see Mahomes in the playoffs,
I
of
would
course.
absolutely love a Bills Seahawks Super Bowl or a Bills. I mean, my dream Super Bowl right now as a Patriots fan, aside if the Patriots weren't to make it, it would be Bills versus Lions because that
Yeah,
kind of
I mean,
guarantees that one of those two poverty franchises actually get a ring.
yeah, if Sam
So
Darnold goes out there and wins a ring, that would be one of the NFL's
that would be
greatest
amazing.
stories.
It would be
Yeah,
amazing. I don't think when Sam Darnold played on the Jets, I did not think that he was that treated right by the Jets. I feel like the Jets kind of have a history of um, not developing their quarterbacks correctly. I mean, we see with
of
Zach
course.
Wilson, we saw with. I mean, I think Justin. I don't think Justin Fields is that great, but I do think Justin Fields is better than what um, he's, I guess, shown playing on the Jets, right?
Yeah,
So
they
I
don't put
think
these quarterbacks in positions to succeed. I mean,
no,
I'm a Jets
absolutely
fan.
not.
I'm a Jets fan, and I've watched this team for 10 years now. And it's just Woody Johnson, the owner. He needs to go. The whole entire franchise is just it's not built right. They don't know how to develop players. Um, they're in New York. They're a big market team. They can go out and sign anybody, but I mean, they don't know how to develop their young guys. It's not a winning culture. So, I didn't hate Sam Darnold on the Jets. I didn't think he was very good, but I also think that's because he was a young kid. He didn't have really a whole lot of time on the Jets to develop fully. I think he played 2 or 3 years on the Jets. I don't think that's nearly enough time to get developed into your full potential, as we see with a guy like Jordan Love, who got to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years. So, you know,
I mean, if
as far
you
as the Super Bowl goes, back to That I I do think the Eagles squeak through the playoffs. I know they haven't been playing
Oh,
great
absolutely,
recently,
100%. Yeah,
um, but I think Saquon hasn't had a good year at all. But I just think they're going to turn up in the playoffs. I have the Eagles coming out of the NFC, and in the AFC, I think it's a little more of a tighter race. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo makes it. I'm not going to be surprised if Kansas City makes it. Of course, we've been seeing Kansas City win for 5 or 6 years now. Um, so yeah, I mean, a Chiefs Eagles rematch wouldn't surprise me. Um, Indianapolis has kind of fallen off. I don't think they're gonna make it. Denver, I don't think they're as good as their record shows. Uh, Give me Chiefs Eagles again. I think
wow.
I trust those two teams the most in the playoffs, just because they've done it the most over the
I
last
don't.
five
I do
seasons.
trust Kansas City this season. Well, if they were to make the playoffs, I think a little bit more than Philadelphia for the simple fact that I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a locker room issue. I don't know if it's off the field, on the field, but something's just not right, right? And I think this starts from the coaching, right? And I do think it trickles down on the players as well. I mean, I know AJ Brown's been upset in the locker rooms. I mean, somewhat rightfully so. I mean, he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's not really getting targets. Um, I mean, Hurts hasn't been playing that well. I do think Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback. I think the problem is
I think
they're
Hurts is a great quarterback in that system, that run heavy
yeah, yeah.
offense. Um, he throws a deep ball maybe once or twice a game, but Jalen Hurts is a successful quarterback because he's put in an offensive system that is basically
Built
built
for him.
around him. Right? They have two great receivers. They have one of the best running backs in the NFL, a really good offensive line. It's just a dream scenario for any quarterback. So of course Hurts is going to succeed in that offense, and of course he's been there for 5 years now. So um, it's a great situation for Jalen Hurts, and I'm totally not surprised they've had so much success over the last few seasons in that offense.
I do think Jalen Hurts is better than what his stats show. Or I just feel like the offensive coordinator he draws up plays that are so one dimensional, right? I mean, you have AJ Brown, you have Devontae Smith, yet you refuse to throw the ball, right? And you just keep running and running and running. And yes, it worked last year, but your offensive line was
Mm.
leagues better than whatever like you have on the field right now, right? And that's no disrespect to any of the players, but they're just not as good as they were last year, right?
Yeah,
So,
and then that
I mean,
happens in professional sports. Teams aren't going to go to the Super Bowl or going to go to the championship every single year, right? You have to regress eventually, and I think that's what we're seeing from Kansas City this year. They've won for so long now. I mean, it's not realistic to think that this team is going to be Super Bowl contenders every single year. Um, but if there's a
I
team
think
that you can trust in the NFL playoffs, it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
that's what's so crazy about what New England was able to do for the 20 years. I mean, this is obviously. I mean, they did have Tom Brady, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback of all time, or just the greatest NFL
Yep,
player of all time.
yep.
Um, but I think it goes a lot in the coaching. Obviously, Belichick was a great coach, and they had really good ownership. They were able to draft, not offensively. I feel like they didn't really do a good job drafting receivers, but defensively, they were always doing great with drafts. And I mean, yeah, I going back to the Eagles. I don't think the Eagles even make it to the second round. And this
Hmm.
year, actually, I'm fairly confident saying that about Kansas City as well.
Hmm.
So, I mean, my
All right,
prediction
man.
is
Well,
either Buffalo or Seattle, or yeah, actually, Buffalo versus Seattle is my Super Bowl prediction.
that would definitely be different. So
Yeah, I
honestly,
love
I
it.
would love to watch those two teams play. Both two franchises that both deserve a Super Bowl.
I love it.